Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of CTS BizTalk. Today we have a very special guest. I say that all the time, but this time it is special. Today we have Heather Gehrke, who is the general manager of CTS. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, good morning. So Heather basically runs operations, finances, HR, and all the stuff, honestly, that I am not an expert in, and I don't believe to be in. So we brought her in a little over a year ago, and she has done a fantastic job reorganizing the entire organization and building things up. So today we are going to talk about employee recruitment and retention, specifically how Heather has succeeded in doing so for CTS and what we see with all of our clients across all the industries, what's working and what's not working. So Heather, if you want to give a quick introduction of yourself, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you. So most of my career has been based on managing organizations and people, wearing a lot of different hats, working for small organizations. So, not having a dedicated HR, marketing person, I've had experience in that and has been able to bring that to CTS, as well as running all financial aspects of organizations. And, a key part of any organization is building relationships for the endeavors that you have. So that's been a big part of my career, and I think that's been something that I've easily been able to move over to CTS and enjoy doing it.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Hmm.
So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about employee recruitment and retention. And this is actually our first non-technical topic for CTS Biz Talk. So super excited. So we're seeing a lot of different stuff. And I hate to use the word unprecedented, but we see that a lot, especially post-COVID. And I hear this from all of our clients in manufacturing, professional services, law firms, accounting firms, insurance firms, any kind of business that's out there. They're all telling me the same thing. We're having trouble acquiring and finding good talent. And then once we have them, how do we keep them? So I've asked Heather, like I mentioned before, to come talk about some tips and tricks and stuff that's been working for us and what she's seen. So Heather, why don't you share with us what we've been doing, the changes we've made in the last year and a half, and how we've been successful?
Sure, I'd love to. So I think just like all the industries you've shared, we too, if I'm being completely transparent and honest, have struggled to find good people. We've seen the world change and what people want, they're looking for, what makes them happy. So we've really had to take a look at what we need to do to not only retain people but find good people. So I think, first and foremost, what the conversations we've had internally is making sure that we're listening and being open
Mm-hmm.
to what people want. And although I think that's been a factor in the past, I think it's even more important now because, again, what I just said earlier, things have changed for people as a whole. So, we've really heard from people that although wage is important, it's not the most important thing.
Yeah.
Um, Having a really robust benefit package and, that cliche of work-life balance, although it may sound cliche, it's what we're hearing from people is really important to them, as well as having the opportunity to grow within an organization.
Mm.
And while that may be traditional and something that's been around for a long time, in the tech industry, we're really seeing people want to advance quickly.
Yes. The
And
younger
we
guys,
have
especially. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have to balance that. You can't just advance somebody to advance somebody. They have to have reason to be able to advance. So, we in the past 6 months or so, have taken a look at our internal structure and have created more positions to move around within the organization based on actually more feedback from the applicants we've had. Um, and we've obviously taken that back to our team too, and they appreciate that. And I think it's so far working very well. The other piece of that is also making sure that we create training opportunities and allow time for training opportunities so that employees feel like they are adding to their skill sets, but that it also is a good match for our organization. So things we need.
So you
Um,
touched on, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
So you touched on two things. One was the training. And one of the things that we do internally, and we've always done this for years, is say, hey, you guys want to do training? The money's there. Every employee's got a certain amount of training. Every person's got a certain amount of money that they can spend on certifications and licenses and stuff like that. And what we've seen is with things being so busy that people aren't taking advantage of that. So why don't you talk to us about how we're doing almost, I want to call it mandatory training, where they're making sure that they're taking time off, because I think people have really enjoyed that part of CTS.
Yes, and again, just like every industry's been faced with struggles with making sure you have a full workforce,
Hmm.
we've been there now for a few months, and we're seeing our team take advantage of the resources we've made available to them. So, we have here again, even flexibility within training. We have said to them what works best for you because everybody learns differently. I
Yes.
personally cannot sit for 8 hours in front of a computer taking training courses. I need it chunked up, but some people that works for. So we have really tried to accommodate each person's um, best way of learning, and we're seeing that work for our team.
Okay. Yeah. And then
I,
the other
I,
thing that you touch base on is expansion of benefits. I
mhm.
hate podcasts and videos where they grace over it. I want to go into the weeds with you. Give us some examples of how you have implemented better benefits and expanded that where the team's loving it.
Mhm. It is important. And again, I mentioned earlier, you have to have a competitive wage at the end of the day, of course.
Of course.
But you need to not only have a robust benefit package, but I think people need to um, listen to what their workforce is saying is important to them. So, for example, for CTS, we've heard from them they would really enjoy having floating holidays. So we've implemented that. We've implemented having their birthday off, and if they can't take their birthday off due to work needs, that becomes another floating holiday. We've all seen, obviously, every industry's seen a rise in, health and dental benefits, or I'm sorry, premiums. So we've taken a look at what we can afford with respect to how we could help support that ever increasing cost. And I know for a fact our team appreciates that. They have said that to us. Um, our 401k plan, you
Yep.
don't have to necessarily contribute. We contribute regardless. So I just think that it's really important, again, to listen to what's important to your workforce. Because if you can meet them there, they're going to do a great job. And then I would, again, go back to that flexibility piece. Even in a remote work environment, you can be flexible, which is what
Hmm.
we are. You know, it's very easy to allow a staff member an hour away to take care of something personal because then they turn around and give it back to us when
Yeah.
we have an urgent need arise with the client after hours or on weekends. Like our team is so good about that. So again, it's that give and take. And if you can be open to that and allow for that, I think it will really bring benefit to the organization as a whole.
Yeah. That's good feedback, and I personally love the changes. The one change that I was on the fence with, and you and I discussed for a while, is expanding the vacation time and the length that you've
Mhm.
been at CTS. For me, I think that was great because I think I ended up being here since I've been here 20 years. I get 5 weeks, and I never had that before. I still want to take it, but I appreciate that it's available, I guess. So that's kind of cool. So how are you doing recruiting today? Obviously everyone, all of our competitors are out there. We're all biting at the bit, as layoffs are coming from larger corporations. I believe there's a large IT pool of quality candidates, and we're all fighting towards that same person, if you will. What tools are you using specifically to find the people, and what is that process?
So I think first and foremost, if you have a good referral, that's always going to be great.
Huge.
great, but those aren't always available. So we've used a lot of online tools, your standard ones that I think a lot of organizations use, such as Indeed. But we've also looked at, online recruiting through universities.
Yeah,
There's a lot of good tools out there, and I think you just have to pay attention to keywords that you're using, making sure you are promoting your benefits package, making sure you are talking about what your work environment is like. Again, these are standard words nowadays, in the office, hybrid, or remote. And
yeah.
people are specifically searching on those depending on what they're looking for. So make sure you're really specific in what recruiting you're doing. And I would take it another step further. Once you have made a job offer and it's been accepted, and you're excited, ready and excited to bring that person on, make sure you're doing good onboarding.
Oh,
um, we were doing this, but I have since read some articles, and it makes, me feel good that we're doing exactly what we should be doing. But it starts before their first day. Check in with them, make sure that they um, have all their questions answered, that they feel prepared and comfortable for their first day, supported. So you can really impact and make the employees' onboarding great, so that they feel like they're joining, not feel like, they know that they're joining a wonderful organization that they're going to be happy at. And I know that that's important because our last few new hires have literally said that to me. So I think that's a really, really important piece to take away.
I'm glad you brought up onboarding. So for the viewers who have been with and clients have been with me and family and friends, onboarding, 10, 15 years of CTS would be we'd meet you typically at a Panera and would give you a laptop and give you your accounts and say, cool, you better be billing in the next, week. Heather has revamped the onboarding where we are taking people regardless of experience within the field, and we are taking them gracefully to embrace the CTS culture, our policies, our procedures, the way we do things. And honestly, techs are typically not billing for weeks, if not over a month. And it is such a graceful way to bring them in. And I think it helps the client first and foremost, but it helps them um, understand the way we do things, and the way we do
Mhm.
things much better than other organizations. And like you said, some of the recent new hires in the last few months have told me like they love that. One of the parts that I'm involved in with an onboarding is I will typically reach out and have a one-on-one myself with any new hire, typically 30 days after. And what I love to ask them is, where can we improve? Because part of CTS is continuous improvement. And if they've had multiple jobs elsewhere, or maybe it's their first job, what can we be doing better to help support you so that you are supporting the organization and our clients better? And some of the feedback that I'm getting is amazing. And then typically I'll follow up about 5 or 6 months after, because I take that feedback and I share it with Heather and the other managers at CTS. And we have implemented changes that they're like, wow, as a new hire, I'm having an impact on this organization, and this is what I want to be part of. So I love the onboarding. So thank you, Heather, for putting that in place. And it's a great experience for everyone involved. So it's good.
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning the check-ins. I think that's super important. So I mentioned before their first day, I make a point to meet with them every other week for the first probably 4 to 6 weeks. More
Hmm.
often, I can't tell you how many times I say, let me know how I can help you. I am
Hmm.
here to support you. But then scheduling normal one-on-ones, meeting with your team. I meet with all of our team members, including you, weekly,
Yes.
to make sure that, communication is strong and the whole team knows, what they need to know, what's going on, and that we're hearing about any issues that might arise so we can be proactive about resolving anything that comes up too.
And it's super important to have that in your environment,
Mhm,
especially if you're a hybrid and remote workforce.
mhm,
Because if we don't have that, it doesn't work. And we have clients where they're not having those regular touch points and powwows, if you will. and they don't have the kind of experience that we do from an internal working perspective. So I always ask all of our guests to share a story, something cool where tech meets your world. If you've got a quick extra minute or two, why don't you share something kind of cool from a tech HR perspective?
Yeah, I kind of hit on this earlier, but I would say, early on in my career here with CTS, the applicants we were getting through the online tools we were using didn't even meet qualifications, basic qualifications. And I'm sure everybody experiences that on some level. But we really then took a look at the pieces of how do we promote,
Hmm.
and that has helped us a lot. And I want to add a second one in there. We have seen, especially in the hybrid or full remote work environments, um, clients wanting to make sure that their employees are being productive. So it's this fine line of not making the employee feel as though they're being monitored every second of the
Hmm.
day, but again, understanding where the company is coming from, because some people work really well in a remote environment and some people cannot stay focused. So our clients have just leaned on us to look at what resources are out there. Is it a good fit for them? How do they communicate that to their employees? Transparency is really important.
Huge.
And then, what legal aspects might they need to think about?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting ever since, we have a lot of clients that have been 100% on site, a lot of our manufacturing clients and stuff like that. And then post COVID, you send these people home. How do you know what they're doing? How do you, especially if it's a bring your own device, it's their own personal machine. How do you monitor and not cross that legal line of making sure that your employee is doing what they're supposed to be doing and giving them that free space? So it's been a challenge for everybody, us and from a tech perspective, our clients and everything. So no, I appreciate that. That's a good viewpoint. So
Mhm.
awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining the segment. Heather, it's been fun as always. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
I hope you had a fun time. We try to have fun with these. And
Always.
always. So, hey, everyone, thanks again for joining. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and have a great day, everyone. Take care.